Today I'm harvesting Yacon and acre, two unusual root vegetables that I've been growing for some years now, and both of them are great for the garden because you get a good harvest and also you can grow the next year's crop from the Yacon and the acre that you harvest. So once you've got some, you've kind of got it forever. They're both delicious, really nice, and it's been very cold. The Yacon and the acre, their leaves have been completely knocked back by the frost. Very hard frost last night, and although the ground is still pretty chilly and frozen, I'm harvesting it because the weather is just set to get colder and colder. I practically have all my clothes on at the moment. I can hardly move. I've got so many layers on. And tonight we're forecast snow, which I'm super excited about, and which will just mean that it's going to be impossible to harvest it for a while, because also next week the temperatures are due not to get above freezing for at least a week and maybe longer. So now I'm going to harvest these amazing vegetables. It is definitely a diggy job. Moving the spade around and levering in the hope that I'll be able to get to the tubers. It is possible to leave Yacon and acre in the ground over winter. You can put a deep mulch of straw or hay, and that can protect it enough so that the crop doesn't become damaged, but they're both very sweet. And I've got rodents here in this garden because it's very rural, and one of the rodents I have here are voles, which love sweet roots. So if I leave them in the ground, the chances of me getting a harvest once the voles discover them are quite small, so they're coming out. Ooh. This is looking really hopeful. Aha! The first Yacon. The tubers form underneath the crowns of the Yacon, and they come in all different sizes. Some of them can be absolutely massive. This is about a normal size. For me, I have had bigger, and also you get quite a few small ones. Usually Yacon is harvested like this. So you've got the crown here at the top, those little knobbly bits there, and then the tubers growing underneath. So what I'm doing is removing the tubers. They make a nice snapping sound, and the tubers are going in one trug and the crowns in another trug just now. The leaves are going in the wheelbarrow. In this trug I have the Yacon crowns, and it's these that will be stored over winter and used to grow next year's crop of Yacon. In here I've got the Yacon that we're going to eat. It's not a bad harvest considering that these Yacon weren't watered at all during the dry summer. They are really sweet and crispy. In the wheelbarrow I've got the leaves. Now it's time to harvest the acre, which is down here. And I'm also being very aware of the sky behind me, which is getting darker and darker and more ominous looking. So although I'd normally harvest these with a trowel, I'm going to use the spade for speed. I'm just finding where it all starts. The acre is much smaller than the Yacon, and I'm growing two different colours. Acre grows quite near the surface. It's not as deep growing as a Yacon. I am trying to get out as many as I can because they are really good at regrowing. They can kind of take over in a more warm climate. And I was right about the weather. It's sleeting at the moment. Here is the acre harvest. It's not huge. I think it's been affected by the very dry weather. And also I did notice that some of them were kind of little husks. Something had nibbled away inside. It's getting more and more interesting, this weather. The ground's been pretty disturbed, especially by digging up the Yacon, and usually after levelling it out with a rake, I would add some compost to the surface, but this year I'm busy making more beds, and the compost I have, I'm using for that. So I'm going to put the leaves that are in the wheelbarrow over the ground to protect it from the weather that's coming over the next week, the weather that's arrived. It's not supposed to be doing this till tonight, and at least that will help a bit. The way to store Yacon crowns is to put them in a crate. I usually line it with old compost sacks to stop things falling through the holes, and fill the crate with compost and put it somewhere where they're not likely to get eaten by rats and also not completely frozen. So mine are going to go in the greenhouse, but I'm not actually going to put them in a crate now because I've got to get all the firewood in before this weather gets even worse. And so what I'm going to do instead is put the trug in the greenhouse, just tip a load of compost from a compost sack, potting compost on top, put some fleece on top of that, and then when I've got some time over the next week, I'll put them properly in a crate. Yacon is very sweet. It tastes a bit like pear. It's crunchy. You can use it as you would a turnip or a radish, except it doesn't have the same flavour as a turnip or a radish. So you can use it grated in salads. It's nice even just snacked and nibbled on. And you can also roast it and mash it. It makes an amazing syrup. And acre tastes lemony. Again, you can eat it raw or you can cook it. If you steam or boil acre till it's tender, just like a new potato, and serve it either with butter or some olive oil, it tastes like a delicious lemony potato kind of thing. It's so good. There's recipes for both of these in my book, No Dig Organic Home and Garden. I am being really hopeful that this doesn't turn into sleet and it becomes lovely, pretty snowflakes. We shall see. But now I've got to go and bring in the firewood and also repair part of our driveway with some gravel. So whatever it's going to turn into, I hope it waits till I finish that. The military seem to have chosen this afternoon to fly over my garden quite a bit too. So those planes you could hear in the background, that's fighter jets and things like that flying over. I think they like whizzing down the valleys here. I'm happy to say that snow did start falling, and the next morning we had just enough snow to make everything look really pretty.